to Recruiting Intel on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel, powered by InsideTexas.com. I'm Joe Cook. That's Coach Dub. That's Justin Wells. Thank you for watching. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. And, of course, if you have not done so yet, make sure you head to InsideTexas.com. Click on that first link in our description or click on that QR code right by Arch Manning's head. Scan that QR code, I guess. Go join Inside Texas. Join for $1. We got the best recruiting intel as National Signing Day sits just over a month away. Still some work in the 2026 class to be done for Texas, but some entertaining work to follow. We'll follow it here. We'll follow on InsideTexas.com. That's where all the best info is. So come check us out there. We posted some recruiting intel earlier today, Justin, and we got to lead off with a name that should be pretty familiar. Two different names at the same position. Should be pretty familiar to a lot of Texas fans. We'll start out in Georgia with Dre Quinn, who was once committed to Clemson. Once we heard a lot of great things from Quinn himself about Texas. He seemed to talk up pretty much every visit he went on, as a lot of these kids do. But he has since decommitted from the Clemson Tigers, and the Buford product is engaging with Texas.
Yeah, he moved. He was at Atlanta Christian, but he moved across. He's still in Norcross, but he moved over to Buford for this year. This is a kid that as soon as he decommitted from Clemson, there were a handful of RPMs that came in for Texas. And it wasn't that people thought, oh, well, he's about to commit to Texas. It was that people thought Texas is the most likely to get him. And I still think that might be the case, but I feel like there's 3 or 4 schools that are really pushing him. Georgia, he's seen. Ohio State, he's seen. He just was at Miami last weekend, and now he is going to be headed to Austin on either in mid-November or late November. It's either going to be for the Arkansas game or for the Texas A&M game. Kind of collaborate with Charlie on this one a little bit. It sounds like Texas and Alan Clark is making headway with this kid. He absolutely loves Coach Clark, and they had such a good time in Austin. They've been there a few times already. They really enjoyed that. Before they make a decision, they're going to come back to Austin. Then we're going to have a decision. And could it be before National Signing Day? Maybe, perhaps. Could it be on, National Signing Day? That remains to be seen. Just understand, Texas really needs another edge. Well, Alan Clark has been really consistent with this kid. The NIL all lines up. I wouldn't be surprised if he winds up at all 4 of the schools that we mentioned earlier. I know Ohio State's pushing late. That'll be something to watch. I'm not that worried about Miami, and for strange reason, I'm not that worried about Georgia in-state. It feels like Ohio State and Texas might be battling this one out, but this is good news because this is another top kid, 4-star that could boost this recruiting class a little bit and help Texas start to finish up this 2026 cycle.
Justin, do you think he could maybe go to Athens in a couple weeks to see? I know you mentioned Georgia may not be a threat or a big-time factor, but
right.
Maybe knock out 2 birds with 1 stone.
Buddy, yes, but I also know how Georgia rolls. And if they think they're showing off for a kid that's lean in Texas, that recruiting staff's going to pay attention to that. But, hey, that would actually be a great thing because when Texas goes to Athens in 2 weeks and upsets Georgia, it's going to be a big deal. It's going to really boost them in the college football playoff rankings. It's going to boost them to the top 10. They're going to be back in that conversation. If Quinn's on campus, that's an add value.
I think I'll be staying in Norcross, so not too far. I don't think I'll get there in time to maybe catch a Buford game, but maybe we can, since it's a night game, Evan and I can stop by and see him. Charlie, Charlie, we got to talk a little bit about some other move at the edge position, and that is Texas not just re-engaging with Jamarian Carlton from Temple High School, been a long-time Baylor commit, but even hosting him on a visit this past weekend. Baylor, their season not going the way that they wanted it to under Dave Aranda. Looks like that tenure may be coming to an end very soon. Who knows? You and I were talking before the show started, like, okay, if they go get whatever air raid guy that's in the state of Texas and pretty popular right now, what's that look like for their defense? We know Baylor's going to, always be there in the NIL conversation with players, especially players from Central Texas. But Texas is going to be in the conversation too, especially with someone from Temple, especially after hosting them on a visit.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely some uncertainty there at Baylor. I'm going to steal one from Justin. Coach Alan Clark is just hanging around the rim with all these recruits, right? he's staying in contact. Him and Jamarian have never stopped talking, right? Their relationship is strong, dating back a few years. And so getting him on campus was huge. He got to see a lot of things. Defense line kind of got a chance to show out and get out the Pavia a little bit. And he loved it. He loved the energy, the atmosphere at the stadium. And so seeing, so many fireworks, right? He was like, man, it felt good to be back in there. Back in DKR, just seeing a game and being in the building. He absolutely loved his visit. Like I said, relationship with him and Coach Clark has been strong for a very, very long time. And with some uncertainty in Waco, you just never know how these things may go. And you always kind of lean back to those relationships that you build from the beginning, building a foundation with a kid. And it sounds like Coach Clark has done that. And, with signing day, a month away, I can't wait to see what happens with this kid.
This is one of those recruitments that back in the summer, had a lot of different factors going into it. Baylor obviously met the NIL standard. Texas, I think, was not too far away, but I think Baylor wanted to make sure that they had their number. They also did the sell that you would give to anybody who grows up in the 254. Hey, come just play an hour away. Come be a Central Texas legend. Come represent your area code. But Justin, that's not something that he can't do in the state of Texas at the city of Austin wearing burnt orange either. A lot of what applied then still applies to Texas now as far as recruiting Jamarian Carlton and wanting to get him in the program.
Yes. Texas still would like to have Jamarian Carlton in this program. They recruited him before it was offered, and they're going to keep recruiting after his commitment. There's a lot of ties to Baylor. There's some connections on the back end that Charlie knows about real well that keeps Baylor in that. But Texas would, you're talking about a guy to play opposite Richard Wesley. That's your fit. That's your Twitch guy right there. Everybody was clamoring for Trenton Henderson. Well, Carlton's senior tape is a lot better, and he's a lot more active, and he's got a better motor. And so keep it up. Clark is known for his relationships. You don't build great recruiting relationships by getting to know a guy, he commits somewhere else, and then stop talking to him. That's not how it works. If anything, that actually puts Texas and Clark into another mode where they're like, all right, now we've got a bullseye. Now we've got a target. Now we've got something we can go after. And so tip your cap to Clark, Dre Quinn, Jamarian Carlton. There's a handful of guys. They want another edge to come in with Richard Wesley. And I have a feeling they're going to get one of these guys.
Like I had mentioned, Carlton, I remember when he first camped at Texas, he seemed like a kid who profiled pretty well to Texas. And unlike some other recruitments in the summer and in early July where the actions of the kid kind of soured the Texas staff view of the prospect, I don't think that happened here. I think Jamarian, I think he was honest about some of his reasons behind going to Baylor, but he was honest about it. And I think that still goes a long way with the Texas staff. And they wouldn't have had him on campus if that weren't the case as well. So before we keep going, got to show some love to one of our sponsors. That is Rhoback. There's only one way to describe Rhoback. Best fit, best feel. For those who aren't familiar with Rhoback, they are completely changing the game with their incredibly comfortable activewear. Rhoback has released so many items within their new licensed game day collection, and it's our favorite. With novel polo designs and clean hoodie and Q-zip designs from some of your favorite schools like Texas, it's definitely worth checking out. Nobody else on the market is pairing these level of custom designs with this quality of activewear. Rhoback's everyday shorts or their Delta Performance pants are the perfect pairing as well. Both are super comfortable, have an elastic waistband, and great fabric that's made to have the appearance of a nice short look, but the comfort for a day on the move. Rhoback has also been proudly leading the NIL charge, having signed partnerships with multiple college football stars like Quinn Ewers. They are becoming the go-to brand for college athletes across the country. Use the code TEXAS20 on Rhoback.com for a generous 20% off for all new customers through the end of this week. That's RHOBACK.com and 20% off all performance polos, shorts, and more with Texas20. I want to get to one quick question. I saw Jonah Williams, Josiah Sharma, Kalik Lockett, and Deuce Cunningham are currently at 4 games. Let's see if they reappear again. Just to go over that, Lockett and Williams and Cunningham are at 4 games. Sharma is at 3. Jonah Williams is going to play a 5th game. We'll see about Josiah Sharma. I wouldn't be surprised. Kalik Lockett, I bet he plays a 5th game. And I bet Deuce Cunningham does too. If he gets healthy, they put him on special teams. I think health has kind of been something maybe limiting him. I don't think maybe with Cunningham and Sharma, they think about it. But with players like Jonah Williams and Khalil Lockett, they're going to go ahead and say, you know what, these guys aren't going to be on campus for 4 or 5 years. Let's go ahead and get them moving and in on whatever they need. And if the Texas secondary is going to be banged up like it was this past week, they're going to need guys like Jonah Williams. Speaking of the Texas secondary, Justin, I know you've talked about Torrey Davis, who's up from Boulder. But Charlie, we got to talk about somebody who's from the boot, from New Orleans, Edna Carr, wearing purple and gold, was projected to wear purple and gold, still is committed to LSU. But one of Hayward Howard's teammates in Aiden Hall, safety committed to LSU in about August. He's someone who is starting to engage a little bit more with the Longhorns.
Yeah, talking to the coaching staff there at Edna Carr, they've always been fun of Longhorns. Longhorns love that program back. And so with Hayward Howard being committed to Texas also recruiting defensive tackle Richard Anderson, number 2 defensive tackle in the nation, that also attends Edna Carr. Look, you might have a trio here. And I think, Coach Lylan Clark has a great relationship, already built in with a lot of those guys there at Edna Carr.
Yes.
And Hall is starting to hear from the Longhorns, and they're trying to work on getting him on the visit to Austin. And so, look, I currently committed to LSU, but, with Brian Kelly being fired, you're just so much uncertainty with the program. You don't know who you're going to be playing for. Are they going to retain a defensive coordinator that you like, the system that you thought you were going to be playing in, where, you got a teammate in the team say, hey, come play with me in Austin. You see how they use the Texas secondary, or they can maybe use some safety help. You can be it. So Texas looking to add another safety. I think Hall could definitely be a name they could definitely target and see. I mean, you look at his tape, he's rangy, he can hit you, he can cover hash to hash. Yeah, it does a lot of great things on tape. And there's a lot of dogs down there in the booth. So, man, this is another one that I really, really like. He doesn't have a draw like Hayward Howard does. You can understand what he says, but, man, I like this kid a lot.
Justin, this is just Texas. Again, they're still looking for more safeties. They're still looking for more guys in this class. And we talked a lot about the gravitational pull that LSU has in state. I think that matters in a lot of cases. But when you don't have head coach certainty, it gives you an opportunity to go in and maybe grab a guy.
Yeah, so this is Texas being thorough. I mean, you've had some major firings over the last 4 weeks. You know what you do when you see firings? You go pick up the scraps. You go into that recruiting class. You go look at that roster that you may need to pillage in the portal. All of those teams are up for grabs. All of those recruits are up for grabs. And you know who's got that consistency thing going? The University of Texas. Their coaches, their staff, back-to-back playoffs. Hayward Howard set the trend there and for that class in Edna Carr. Those other guys are going to listen. Now, Richard Anderson feels like a pipe dream. That guy is incredible. But Texas has already loaded a defensive line. I don't think you can turn that kid down. I think he's a numbers buster. I think you have to figure out a way to make it right if he wants to jump in. They've got to take another safety. Hall is that guy. But like we've said, nobody keeps in-state talent in-state better than LSU in the state of Louisiana. Nobody. It's a different animal. And like Charlie said, South Louisiana, you don't turn those athletes down. You understand me? You take those guys, you stack them, you develop them, and you turn them into full-blood monsters. And so, yeah, Brian Kelly's out. Go over there and look at that roster. Go look at that recruiting class. Oh, you need a safety? Well, guess what? So does Texas. Yeah. Well, let's make it happen, Captain. If they get on campus, this thing will turn real. But they've got it. I want to see him in Austin before we go any further.
Charlie, we'll keep it going with we'll go back to Georgia real quick and talk a little bit about Jordan Carter. And this is someone who I think was a long-time Texas A&M commit from
year
Douglas.
And a half.
Yeah.
He committed with Aaron Gregory their junior year during that unofficial visit early last year.
So this is, again, Texas looking for safeties, looking for edges, looking for kind of like one more at every spot, maybe save for defensive
linebacker,
tackle.
safety, and yeah.
Yeah, and so at this point, this is another guy that Texas is now engaged with. We know that he wouldn't have minded going all the way to the state of Texas, but what are the Longhorns trying to get into Jordan Carter's ear at this point?
Yeah, so he does have a Texas offer, and recently Texas just started talking to him. Look, he's open to playing anywhere. It doesn't matter. some of his top schools, Auburn and Florida. Guess what? They no longer have head coaches, right? So that top list is starting to dwindle down. And hearing from Texas, it seems like Texas loves a lot of Georgia kids, man. It's like they're going in raiding. It probably makes Kirby a little mad, but it is what it is. But yeah, he's starting to hear from Texas, and like I said, he's open to playing anywhere. And so if he takes a visit to Texas, one of these last home games, Arkansas or A&M, he'll be another kid to kind of watch out for. Look at him, ranked number 22 edge. Man, I think he's maybe your Buck. He's a bigger kid. He's already 244. So
he's kind of like Wesley, coach.
He is. And so if you're looking to add another edge, maybe a run stopping edge, something like that, I think he can be a guy. But just recent communications just starting to pick up. So we got to kind of see how this thing will play out up until December. But Texas is interested, and he's listening.
I think as we kind of talk about this 1 month until signing day, something we've learned over the course of the past couple of years is, you like these visits to set things up and to maybe be part of a jostling for position. But a lot of it's always going to come down to the 11th hour at this point. So to jostle for position, to get yourself set up, to be familiar with these prospects, with visits, with things like that, you definitely want to do that. You build a relationship. Most cases, you don't sign to a place without any sort of relationship. Most cases, there are outliers. But the relationships, the visits, the seeing yourself at these schools, it's part of a foundation. And that doesn't mean it's not a deciding factor. It doesn't make money the only deciding factor, but money can change a lot in the last few minutes of a recruitment. We've seen Texas reap the benefits of that over the course of the past couple of years and kind of fall victim to it as well in recruiting. We got a couple more guys to talk about. We'll actually bring it back to Texas in just a second. But before we do that, we got to talk a little bit about Game Time. World Series is over, so sorry, no more baseball tickets, but you got NBA. Hey, if you want to go watch Texas and Duke play in Charlotte tonight, get some tickets in the Spectrum Center. If you want to go basically anywhere, go to the Moody Center, go to Athens, Georgia, see the game between the hedges, go watch some NFL, see some Quinnen Williams suit up for America's team. You got to go to Game Time, gametime.co, or use the Game Time app. It is the best way to get tickets. You know how much you're paying because fees are included. No surprises at checkouts. You get a panoramic view of your seat in the app before you buy. That's how my family bought some tickets at Mississippi State. And you get the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code ON3 for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Create an account, use code ON3 for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today. Justin will bring it back over to
Antoine needs to come see us at InsideTexas.com, Joseph.
I know. We'll get to a couple of his questions in a second.
We've already covered some of that stuff, Antoine. Come see me.
Well, let's get
style. Come on. I'll get a fog machine behind me. I'll put on the Jerry curl. Come on.
Let's get to Jamarian Vincent. And this is a name we haven't heard of in a while, I feel like. Waco Connolly, someone who Baylor, again, made a splash with. Baylor had a good stretch during the spring and summer, getting some of the top Central Texas prospects to stay home. Vincent was one of them, one of the two Jamarians. But, Coach, this is a situation where Texas is looking at the athlete who projects the corner and starting to really pick up some communication with him. Got the mute on. Oh, finally hit him.
Yeah, just speaking to somebody close to Vincent in the Waco area, man, it seems like, just like with Carlton, there's some uncertainty in Baylor. You don't know if Randall's going to be back. And so you don't know what coach you're going to be playing for and, for the Baylor Bears next year if you decide to stay committed there. So just people around Vincent saying that, hey, the communication between Texas and him have kind of picked up. And I know Justin was all over this recruitment, before he committed to Baylor.
Yeah.
I think
Texas basically bowed out, and that's why he committed to Baylor.
Gotcha.
Like he was leaning Texas for a year. He wanted that offer. He got it. And then the Horns kind of backed out of it. And then he jumped into the Baylor boat with London Smith and a couple other local kids, all within like a 2 or 3 week period.
With his size and being rangy, being an athlete, I mean, I'm not sure if Keenan will be back, but he used to love to take athletes and put them at safety. Like they can do a lot of different things, and this kid is a total athlete for Waco Conley. And so, you never know if this guy takes a visit to Texas. We'll see and see how serious they are, or if they're just doing their homework and due diligence, saying, "Hey, let's kind of look around the state in case emergencies. In case we get this kid or we don't get this kid, who else is in the pipeline we can kind of go after." But I want to see how this one plays out and see if it becomes really serious or not.
I think if I remember right. No, I'm getting the timelines mixed up. So was not really impacted by Terry Joseph going to the Saints. That happened a whole month.
No, his commitment was late spring, early summer.
Yeah, January 30th, and then Terry Joseph was in late February.
And Terry was his contact because Terry was the contact for Kobe Black, and then Jelani was a contact with Terry, with Jeff Choate, and some other guys. That Waco Conley pipeline needs to be maintained. There's some dudes there year in and year out.
We'll get through. Let's get through some rapid fire questions before we get out of here. In 27, how are things looking with John Meredith and Jaquan Snell? Who wants which prospect? Who wants to go?
Doesn't matter. They're both leaning Texas A&M. I think Snell and Texas have a better relationship. I think Texas has a better chance at kind of reversing that. I'm not worried about 2027s. But John Meredith, listen, A&M is recruiting him like he's signing tomorrow.
Yeah,
they are going so intent with yes, both are leaning A&M right now. I still like Snell in Texas. I don't think that one's anywhere near close, even if he does commit. But Meredith and A&M look like they're going to happen right now. Again, they're 2027s. In Texas right now, even though they do recruit a class ahead, 2 classes ahead, they are so focused on finishing this season strong, getting in that playoff, and finishing this 2026 class. You'll see a lot of movement with 2027s. Momentum leans that back and forth around January and February when we have junior day and when you start having the camp circuit.
This one from our guy Sugar Daddy. I wonder if we could have a transfer portal version of the recruiting show. Man, just wait. And we're going to see guys who – whether it's through Hayes, Fawcett, or through their agent or anything like that, they'll say they intend to transfer. That's going to open up different cans of worms. And intending to transfer does not mean your name shows up in the portal January 2nd. You don't worry. We're going to have a lot of intel on the portal once the calendar turns and once we also have an understanding maybe of what Texas needs specifically number-wise. But we've been talking a lot about that over on Inside Texas today, over in our Q&A, so come and check that out. Justin, 2027 quarterback Ty Knutson from Smithson Valley was a visitor, saw that picture of him on the sidelines. And, 2027 quarterback recruiting, I think we talked about this last week, kind of had a reset with all the different things that have gone on. Maybe there's something with Peyton Houston now that LSU has, changed their coach, but this is maybe it looks like the start of a new search process when it comes to 2027 quarterback recruiting, considering Kavian Bryant chose the Red Raiders on Saturday.
Yeah, I posted some quotes from him on either Sunday or Monday. I can't remember, but he never met Sark. He talked to A.J. Milweed for a minute. They didn't talk about an offer. Milweed did say he would like to come see him. I wouldn't be surprised if Milweed pops into his game this weekend. 2027. That's the thing with quarterback there. It's going to be a bridge guy because there's no 5-stars that want to follow Diabell, including a 4-star in East Texas. He doesn't want to follow Diabell either. So they're going to do that. But I don't think we're going to see clarity at that quarterback spot until January and February. Josh asked a great question about, do we think Texas is going to be more proactive and aggressive moving forward? They pick their spots. Some classes they're out in front. Some classes they're focusing on more important things, more current things. It really is a class by class type of story and recruitment by recruitment if you really want to break it down. And so I think with 2027 Texas, they're doing just enough to stay in touch with these guys, because understand once they lock in with a team and they sign a contract, that team has to pay that kid for so many months and years before he ever enrolls. He's on the payroll while he's still in high school. And Texas isn't necessarily dumb enough to jump into that deep into that water just yet. They pick and choose their spots. Same way they got Justice Terry last year, same way they're going to finish this 2026 cycle strong this year. And so it's not that they need to be more aggressive. They just pick their spots. Listen, how aggressive could you be after UTEP? How aggressive could you be after a Florida loss? You can't. Now they got some momentum. Now the flop is the flip, and Arch Manning is actually doing it. So they got a little bit more of that momentum now. And so they'll pick their spots with that. I'm telling you, in the next month or so, we're going to see a lot of clarity on what they do to finish out this 2026 class and kind of line themselves up with what they want to do in 2027. A lot of that's going to be determined on retention, portal guys, and development of these really good freshmen, this number one class that came in last cycle. And so just bear with them. Listen, A&M and Texas Tech are spending money like they grow it on trees. And that's great. That's great for the sport. It's great for competition. Texas will pick and choose their spots when they do that. That's why you saw a Richard Wesley, a 5-star edge, top 5 guy in the country, commit out of nowhere because they picked their spot. They set low. They're not like a dog. They're like a wolf. Wolves hunt, dogs bark. It's different. Trust Sark on this, guys. No.
Anything on Chris Henry? Yeah.
He's so Ohio State. He grew up in Columbus. Okay? Like he's that Ohio State. He grew up in, I believe, in Cincinnati, outside of Cincinnati. Yeah. He is, I believe, modern day now, but Chris Henry is a pipe dream. That kid has been committed to Ohio State about 6 minutes after he was born.
Would be nice, but Brian Hartline, man, he's good at his job. But you know who else is good at their jobs? We are over at Inside Texas. Got to let y'all know that. So come join us just for $1. Use that first link in the description. Sign up using that QR code right by Arch said. Join for $1. Get the best Texas Longhorns insight, the best Texas Longhorns recruiting intel, especially as we are just a month away from National Signing Day. We'll keep it all tracked over there. We'll also track the rest of the season, the playoff rankings tonight, all that stuff over at Inside Texas. So, Charlie, hey, go read what Charlie's about to drop over on Inside Texas.
Get it. Charlie's got some scoop that I don't even know about yet. So let's come on. That's how much we do this at Inside Texas. That's how we roll.
Come check us out. We'll see y'all over there. Thank y'all for watching the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel powered by InsideTexas.com.